Morning, everybody. I'm trying to be chipper for you all despite not being a morning person. We are headed to work since, much to my shock, my last A Day in the Life video did so well. I decided to upgrade it and do a week in the life. So we're headed to work, and I just decided to go ahead and do my intro like this. So obviously by the title, I'm a media relations manager. For those of you who don't know what that is, or you're looking into that career or whatever, basically it's PR, public relations. I deal with multiple media outlets. I write press releases. I handle the media inquiries. I'm trying to get my brain going here. I get my colleagues ready for interviews, mock interviews, that's what I'm looking for. I draft talking points. It really just all depends on the day. I supervise interviews that take place between my colleagues and the media. It literally just depends on the day. No day is the same. I also wanted to answer some questions that I got, and I'm not even going to sit here in front and say, oh, so many of you guys asked me questions. No, I got several questions from one individual months ago, and I just decided to go ahead and answer them again and hopefully try to add any more insight that I can. So yeah, as I said, we're headed into work. I have a press release that needs to go out not long after I get in, and thankfully I drafted it last week. And that's, I guess, my first tip is to plan ahead. If you know that there's something that needs to go out and you know it needs to go out in a timely fashion, I write down when I need to start working on it. If it needs to be approved, which 9 times out of 10 someone will need to approve it, so I just write down, you know, start drafting blah 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 press release. The next day or maybe hours later, send press release for approval, schedule press release for sending. So it helps if you are organized in that way, of knowing what you need to do, when you need to do it, and when you need to have it done by. I do think that my former life as a reporter helped me in my current role with just planning and knowing what needs to be done by when. I knew when I was out in the field and my story aired at the top of the 5 o'clock show that I needed to be done writing by this time, done editing by this time, done exporting my video by this time. So it helps me with staying on top of my tasks. All right, so we're pulling up to work. I'll see y'all in the building. All right, we are inside, and if you noticed, I only had makeup on from here up. It's because mask life. And I've been spraying this, in case you care, inside of my mask. It's the Dermalogica Pore Micro Mist Clear Start situation. I'm doing that in an attempt to prevent maskne, which I don't know if it's working, but that's what's happening. Coffee in there. After 1, it's time for lunch. I have a meeting at 2:30, so obviously I'm trying to get some food in me before I proceed with that. I'm kind of scared to say this out loud because I don't want to jinx myself, but it's been a slow day so far. I've only gotten one media inquiry that I'm in the process of working on. And usually what happens on my slow days is I try to enjoy it as much as possible because I know that eventually the pendulum is going to swing in the other opposite of a slow day. So I try to revel in that as much as I can, and also use that time to plan on anything else that's coming up. If there's anything I can kind of get started, start to write on, or just anything like that. I like to kind of get a head start on that, so when the not so busy, or when the very busy times come, I'm not as swamped as I would be had I not started on that earlier, if that makes sense. So that's just my opportunity to pre-plan. I try to do any kind of personal development that I need to do. Every now and then my position requires me to be a spokesperson. Not so much on camera. I could if I needed to. Here's where it gets tricky with me. I've realized I know a little bit about a lot of things. So if I get a media inquiry asking me, prime example, the media inquiry I'm working on now, it's a 2-part question. I know the first part of the question. For the second part, I need to go talk to someone who's in that department. So, you know, I'm like a halfway expert, but a lot of times it requires me to go to the full-blown expert. So we do that. But yeah, so every now and then I'm a spokesperson. If I needed to go on camera, I could, considering that's my background. Time is 2:23. I have a meeting at 2:30, and I just snuck away into a little room so I could take my mask off and breathe. So I think I got the answer that I need. Oh, I need some lotion. I think I got the answer that I need to my media question. So I'm just waiting for my email to catch up. I'm gonna send that to the reporter. And then one thing I like to do, which I'm sure will come in handy to you at some point in your media relations career, is track your inquiries. And basically what I'm saying is keep a list of who asked, what outlet they're with, when they asked, who you need to go to for the information, and when they need the information by, aka their deadline. So if they ask you, you know, I need this information, well, what's your deadline? And then that helps you move. You know, sometimes you'll be able to meet their deadline and sometimes you can't. But since I just have the one for today so far, I don't think this is wood, but just since I have the one for today so far, I can keep track of that one pretty easily. So okay, so I got her taken care of. I got 5 minutes until my meeting. I just washed my hands and they're super dry, so I'm gonna go get some lotion. We do our meetings now through Teams. Yeah, everyone's in the building, but we can't gather, so we do Teams meetings. Another helpful tip in the whole tracking of your media inquiries, again, when they ask, who asked, when do they need it by, the expert that you would need to touch base with who can answer the question. Another thing I like to do is track the answers that the expert gives you, because a lot of times there are repeat questions or questions that are similar, and you can just go back and find an answer that was similar. Or what am I trying to say? You can go back and find the answer that more than likely will suffice for that particular question without having to bother your expert. So it's good to be able to keep track of those answers, and plus it just helps you, again, it feeds into that whole knowing a little bit about a lot of stuff, so that helps. So I keep track of all of my media inquiries with an Excel sheet. So as I said, the date, who asked, when they asked, who's my expert, what was the answer, what's the deadline, all that stuff. So I have her answer, so I'm gonna paste it into my file, mark this as closed, and today is the 25th, right? Yeah, okay. And we're good with that one. And it helps me if I have it marked as pending or in progress or whatever like that. It just helps me with my organization, because if you don't keep track of stuff the way you should, being organized, it'll get real quick. Oh my God, it's my meeting started and I'm not in it. It's because I'm multitasking. I'm only a minute late, it's fine. And we're headed home. It's 5 o'clock. Even though, again, I'm leaving, I will be kind of monitoring my phone till about 6:30, just to make sure everything's okay. At 5:30, I do send my boss an end of day report, just to be like, these are the requests that I got, this is what's pending, this is what's in the works, this is what's done, you know, FYI this, FYI that. And yeah, so I tend to kind of wrap up my day between 5:30 and 6:30. And then if I know some stuff's gonna hit the fan or is hitting the fan, then I'll stay by my phone, by my computer, etc. So like I said, we got some personal development done today, got some meetings done, did some what do you call those things, media inquiries, did all of that. So I would say today was a pretty well-rounded day where I was able to breathe and still take care of business, whereas some days it's just taking care of business. We're home now, and I spoke too soon. Well, I didn't speak too soon. I told you that I stand by my phone for the most part, or I linger by my phone. So in the time that it took for me to leave home and give y'all that update, I got a media inquiry. So this outlet is trying to do an interview with somebody. So the first thing I do is ask them what their deadline is. You're trying to do an interview with someone when? I need to know when that is to see if I can help you. So I'm going back and forth via email with him, and then I'll proceed accordingly. Morning. Had to sneak away to give you guys a bit of an update. It's 10:59. I have 2 media inquiries that I'm working on. Actually, one. I've gotten 2 media inquiries so far this morning. The first one was something I already had the answer to, so I was able to send that information on, cross it off the list. The other, I am in the process of checking on. It required me having to ask some of my other colleagues about it. And once they provide me the information, I will be sharing it with the media outlet. I also have a media inquiry from yesterday. I remember how I ended yesterday, and I said that there was somebody asking a question after 5 o'clock. I'm in the process of trying to set that up today. So basically what they're looking to do is talk to one of the experts here on something that's going on. And so I reached out to her, got her availability, asked her if she even wanted to do it. She did. Then I got her availability. So now I'm in the process of trying to get her availability and the reporter's availability and bring the two worlds together. One thing that is sometimes required for me in my position, I think I mentioned this yesterday, is to sit in on interviews and just make sure that the person that my colleague feels supported, and that they know that if something comes up that they don't feel comfortable asking, or is something that I might know that they don't know, they can then say, oh, well, Shamaria will be able to take care of that for you, or Shamaria will be able to provide you that information, or I can interject and say, I'll take care of that for you, or I'll get that information for you, or whatever. So it's good to provide that support to your colleagues, because not all of them feel comfortable talking to reporters and being recorded and being on camera and stuff like that, and having someone there that they know, knowing that they're singing in the background, makes them feel better. Why did I just do that? I don't know. What else? Oh, so I remember that yesterday I didn't answer any questions. The questions that I said I had, I did not answer them, so I'm going to answer 2 today. The first question was, what has been your favorite thing about working in media relations? I don't remember what I said to her. I really don't. I don't know what my favorite thing is, or at least at this current time of day. I can't think of what it is right now. So the other question was, how many years of experience did you have before becoming a media relations manager? So if you want to get technical, I have 10 years experience before I became a media relations manager. So I was a reporter in Winston-Salem, more so like feature stories on the website. You got to start somewhere. Then I was in New Bern, North Carolina. Then I was in Huntsville, Alabama. Then I was in Raleigh, North Carolina. And then I moved to Atlanta, where I worked behind the camera, but still in TV news. And then I was able to get a job as a communication specialist, which is kind of sort of like what I do now. And then I got a media relations manager position. So having that prior experience did help me transition into what I do now. So it's not like I graduated college and went right into PR. It was definitely it was a rocky road, to say the least. So those are the two questions I'm going to answer for now. Oh wait, I have 5 more questions. So I'll go ahead and answer one more today, and then I'll save the rest for later in the week. The other question is, what are the main skills needed to work in media relations? Okay. I definitely say writing. I definitely say media, any kind of experience you can have, whether it be an internship or, again, being a former reporter. What did I tell her? Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, wait, what was my answer to her? My answer to that question would definitely be knowing how to write. You have to oftentimes write statements, write talking points for a colleague of yours if they're going to be speaking to the media. Like, these are the points that you want to hit in order to, have a successful interview. These are the points that you want to get across. So I'd say that definitely helps. Multitasking, knowing how to, do multiple things at once. That's where that checklist will come into play. I believe I mentioned my whole checklist thing to you. I literally don't remember much of what I said yesterday, but I'm a to-do list person, and, top priorities or priorities that'll take longer to accomplish at the top, things that you can kind of get done quickly or aren't as urgent toward the end of the list. It helps if you know how to work with reporters, what they need, when they need it by, things to kind of make sure that they know depending on the topic that they're asking about. And just knowing how to meet deadlines. Obviously, working in TV news definitely helped me with being able to meet deadlines because I had multiple ones every day. So I think that helps. And then if your job requires it, knowing how to speak on camera. It's very different, I will say, being the person who asks questions and being the person who's being asked the question. Being the interviewer and the interviewee, definitely it's not as easy as it looks. So I would say be prepared. Those are some of the things that could help you prepare for a job in media relations if that's something that interests you. So, and being a good storyteller. Did I say that? I said writing, but storytelling also helps because sometimes you'll have to pitch media, like, hey, we have this thing going on, and I've been on the receiving end of stuff and just being like, okay, like, okay, I get that that's big news, that's a big deal to you, but we don't care. So, sometimes you just kind of got to find a way to make them care, and that helps too. Okay, so I wanted to sneak in here, update you guys on my day. I'm waiting to hear back from one of my colleagues and waiting to hear back on this interview confirmation, and we'll take it from there. So I may see you later on today, maybe not. We'll wait and see how the day goes. All right, it's 2:31. Remember that media inquiry that I told you I was trying to set up an interview for? Well, we agreed on 2:40 because my expert has a hard stop at 3. So I just went ahead and got myself in a secluded room so I could take my mask off. And usually what I like to do is call the person, I like to call my expert and just kind of feel them out, so to speak, before I actually get them on the line with the journalist. This particular person, she's done lots of interviews both on camera and for the radio. This particular interview will be via radio. or before the radio rather. So she's a pro, so I'm not worried about her, but I'm still gonna call her before the interview and just, you know, make sure she's good. So that'll happen, and then I'll dial the reporter, introduce the two, mute myself, and then I listen to the interview. I listen to the questions that are asked, the answers that she gives, and then after the interview is held, I usually have a side, like a powwow with my expert to just, you know, how'd you feel about it? What'd you think about this? You know, was there anything I could have said or done or interjected in any way that would have helped you? You know. So I just like to make sure they're good, because you need your experts to be experts and to be available to talk on camera or to provide information when you need it or whatever. So you want to make sure that they are comfortable with the situation itself, with you, and all that, because you need each other. So 2:33. I'll call her at 2:35 and just give her a few minutes and then call the reporter. So I'm going to sit here and pick up my nails for the next 2 minutes. Hey, I'm all right. How are you? Oh, I forgot you were there. Well, I thank you for taking the time to do this, and hopefully it'll be quick. Okay, cool. It's going all right over there? All right, so let me hold on for 1 second. I'll get him on the line. I feel like every time I merge calls, it's like the first time all over again. 404. All right, thank you. Hey, this is Shamirio. How are you? Good, I'm doing all right. We're a few minutes early. Got you. Yeah, and I was just gonna call him back to clarify. I was taking notes, but I missed the question that he asked me. Or, oh, it was like, what was the response? Like, what's the response been? Yeah. Now the question he asked, I have a very vague recollection of someone asking a similar question maybe in the last 2 weeks or so. So remember how I was talking about keeping track of your media inquiries, who asks what, when they ask it, who was your expert, what did the expert say, all of that. So now I'm going to go back to my documentation, my log, if you will, to see, basically I need to go deep diving for that question that I think I got within the last 2 weeks to see what was said. In the event that that particular answer would apply to this question, I will then go back to my expert. It's a different expert than the one that was just interviewed, and say, hey, the reporter asked expert A this question while on the phone. However many weeks ago, there was a different reporter who asked a similar question. You said this. Does that answer still apply here? So that's what I'm about to do now. And just, as I said, go deep diving through my 1,000 plus, it's 1,200 plus inquiries. I don't know how far back this list goes, but it's been busy. I need to store my notes. I have a totally separate folder on my desktop that literally is labeled interview notes, and they are the notes that I take while I would sit in on interviews. As I said, what did they ask? What was the question that was given? And I just like to have that, because it's a security blanket thing. I don't know. Morning. It's 10:25. I have a meeting at 10:30. I came in to a couple of media requests, but I was able to shut those down pretty quickly, because it was literally can anybody do an interview on this? No. Well, I don't say no. I just say, we're unable to accommodate your request for an interview at this time. So I did that. I did have one lingering inquiry or one lingering question, yes, from an inquiry yesterday, but it looks like I'm not going to be able to get an answer from the person who I need to get an answer from. So, I do try to let the reporters know. I don't know if I'm going to be able to meet your deadline. I don't know. I'll do what I can. I do my best to let them know I'll do what I can, but I can't make people give me answers. So, for the most part, I can persuade them, but, just some people on some topics, they're like, no. So, yeah, that's today. I'm tired. I need more coffee. I'm low. Energy levels are low today. I'm going to answer another question. How much writing is involved? I would say a lot. I don't think I answered this question yesterday. I would say a lot of writing is involved, but it depends on the day. Sometimes I write news stories I'd say news stories. I wasn't a print reporter, but I do try to make a story as if it were print because we send out a newsletter that we try to entice the media to respond to cover. So I don't do that often, but I do that, and I do copyright for the people whose main role is to write the news stories. So yes, I would say a lot of writing is involved. Statements, statements, things like that. So a lot of writing is involved. What type of brand or company have you worked with? So while I feel that my role falls under PR, and I know with that could obviously branch out into many different roles, I've only dealt with education thus far. So one of these days I'll be looking to broaden my horizons, but right now it's just been education. I'm done with meeting number 1. While I was in meeting number 1, I got a request for another meeting at 1 p.m. and then I have my third meeting of the day at 2:30. So today is going to be a day of meetings. No 2 days are the same. Sneak away. I almost forgot to talk to y'all today. Today I've just been doing a lot of, well, not a lot, but some catch up. I had a to-do list from yesterday that I wrote in order for me to take care of as soon as I walked in this morning. One of those things was to respond to a reporter who had a deadline by noon. So I just wanted to make sure that all of the people who needed to look at the information before it was sent looked at it and that they got back to me. And so I made sure that was done, and then I passed the information on. So I've done that today. Any kind of personal development that I can squeeze in when I have a moment. I'm also in the process of writing a little story, a little snippet. It's from a press release that's already been written from a separate entity, but my organization, they're kind of like joining forces. And so I'm basically remixing the information that was provided to make it so that it's more focused on my organization compared to theirs. So remember how yesterday I was saying how there's some writing involved. Sometimes it involves writing from scratch. Other times it involves remixing what someone else already has out there. Okay, so here's a good question. It's I can't talk. What is one of your biggest challenges? What is one of your biggest challenges? Okay. Sometimes it can be meeting the reporter's deadlines, because I previously mentioned a few times how I know a little bit about a lot of stuff, and sometimes my knowledge isn't, they need to go beyond what I know. And so sometimes getting that information from one of my experts, that's not their priority. They have other things that they're trying to do. So sometimes it can be hard trying to get the information from the people who actually have the information. That can be a little frustrating. So I would say that's one of my biggest challenges. And just with me personally, sometimes I just wonder what ways I can I just got an email. Tuesday? I'm so confused. Okay, I have questions. Sorry, that totally threw me off. You know how you see an email and the subject line immediately catches your attention and now you're just confused. But yeah, I would say that's one of my biggest challenges, is just kind of getting others whose priority is not responding to the media expeditiously to play ball. And you know, that's not, I get where they're coming from, but I also need them to get where I'm coming from, so we can all, you know, move on with our day. I don't know. All right, well, let me go respond to this email that I just got that I'm super confused about, because it's dated for Tuesday and today's Thursday and no one's followed up. The journalist who asked hasn't followed up since Tuesday, and I'm just now seeing it, so I have questions. So let me go figure this out, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. I'm so glad it's Friday, because I feel like I'm burning a candle at both ends. They're going to be in their 4 o'clock news. They email me at 1 o'clock, needing information by 3 o'clock. That is not a desirable request, because again, you're giving me 2 hours to get you information. And I feel as though I can say this with semi-absolute certainty. I know that reporters have 9 o'clock and usually 2:30 meetings in the morning where their stories are assigned. So unless you were assigned a specific story and it fell apart, you more than likely knew at 9 a.m. this morning what your story was going to be. However, you chose to wait until 1 o'clock to email me to ask for information when you needed it in 2 hours, and you could have given me more time to be able to help you. And so now I'm going to have to try to scramble and find the person who has this information, because again, I know a little bit about a lot of stuff. So, but this is also where it helps. Remember how I was saying to track your stuff, because sometimes the information can already be there and it may need to be tweaked a bit. But my point is, it's just frustrating when you give people little to no time. You need information from them, you need help from them, but you're giving them a very small window in which to help you, and it's just frustrating. And then the other thing that frustrates me the most is when there's no regard for the small window. It's not a, hey, I know I'm asking you this, I know I'm not giving you much time, but if you could help me out and get me this information, I greatly appreciate it. That goes a long way with me, because again, you're owning the fact that you're asking for something in a very small window. But when there's no regard for it at all, it grinds my gears. And I'm like, don't try and play a player, because I've played that game. I've lived that life. whatever. I should be able to get the information to them. But it's just the principle and the lack of consideration for others that, you know. So we're off to lunch. We're reading the newsletter. I'm trying to communicate with another entity for an event that's taking place next week, but it's like we're not really involved, but we're kind of sort of involved. So I'm just trying to not cross the line. That's a whole nother story. But other than that, so far it's been a good day. I'm just trying to get through it. I'm just trying to make it through. So once I get in a place where I can look at my phone, because I'm being safe. Once I get in a place where I can look at my phone, I will answer my last question and wrap up this video, because I think I've shown you all I can show you. Every now and then, this was pre-COVID, I would go to locations if I knew an outlet would be there, a media outlet would be there, and just so that support that I would provide over the phone or via Zoom now or Microsoft Teams, I would have supply in person. But you know, COVID now, that's not really a possibility. So once I get parked, I'll answer my last question and wrap this video up. Okay, it's the end of the day, and I forgot to talk to y'all while I was in the office, but I figured it didn't matter whether I spoke to you in the office or in the car as long as I answered the questions. So the final question of the day is, do you work with a specific team, or would you have the opportunity to work with everyone in the company? I have the opportunity to work with everyone in the office depending on what the media inquiry is. I do make it a point to try to introduce myself to everyone so that when the time comes and I need a question answered, they can at least be like, oh yeah, that was a girl who virtually introduced herself to me. And that kind of, it just makes it better when it comes to working with people and getting the answers and the help that you need. So that is it, ladies and gentlemen. That is a work week in my life. No 2 days the same. And I do thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you have any other questions that you'd like for me to answer, let me know. And I guess I'll go ahead and wrap it up for now. Head on to the house. I will be monitoring my email over the weekend. I don't stay married to my phone over the weekend, but I do check it a couple of times a day on Saturday and Sunday just to make sure everything's okay and that there's nothing needed for me, because you don't want to be unavailable in case it hits the fan, you know. So yeah, that's gonna be it for me today. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope it was somewhat helpful, and until my next video, I'll see you later. Bye.